Well, hey there. I hope you're having a great afternoon so far. I'm going to do my best to keep this video relatively short, but this is a continuation of the MP3's of summer. I can see this format throughout Substack, that is, going on into the fall, the winter, holiday seasons, this, that, and the other. And so I wanted just to speak a little bit about some of these tracks that have meant a lot to me over the years. And I'm recovering them now from the iTunes storefront where I invested, it looks like, in the hundreds of dollars anyway, on music MP3s between roughly 2008, when I first arrived in Qatar, up until the Ontario years anyway, so at least through 2018. And there's some stuff in here that I hadn't listened to for a while, some things that I think are still vital, and things that are even connected to artists kind of moving forward today. So, with that said, I guess one of the ones that jumped out at me the most from that collection, one of the ones I added to my flip phone for listening purposes straight away, was Tommy Stinson's post replacements projects, plural, Bash and Pop, as well as Perfect. Two different bands, both of them featuring Tommy Stinson. And Friday Night is Killing Me, the debut from Bash and Pop. They didn't put out another album like under that name for until 2017 or something like this with different personnel. But in the very short time that the project was active, this album, Friday Night is Killing Me, it it really resonated for me, to use a term. It's something where it's got loose kind of rock and roll blues vibes to it almost. It's got swagger, it's like 70s rock kind of. I feel like it captures something of the Rolling Stones in its approach, and that's about as high a compliment as you could pay for a rock oriented kind of thing. I think that project, Bash and Pop, deserved more of an audience than it received at the time, but that was also 1993, which was the heyday for grunge music and the like. So there wasn't maybe necessarily the market share even available for it. I'm pleased to say it stands up real well and never aim to please. I mean, that's just, I can relate. I feel like it's relatable somehow. And this titular track, Friday Night is Killing Me, it's this ballad. It's about kind of trying to take stock of your situation, even when it's challenging. Again, it's things that I feel pretty strongly about at this particular moment in my life, I suppose. And if you couple that album with it's kind of its own opposite in a way, with the Squirrel When Squirrels Play Chicken EP. It's six songs plus a hidden track, and it's so good. It's so good. I picked it up at Barrington Street's CD Plus location, Halifax, Nova Scotia, 1998 or 1999, when I was living there for university for a couple of years. Such a good CD. I listened to it incessantly during my time there. So, again, just some thoughts down below about it. I also found myself getting really back into The National, who I haven't necessarily listened to for a while. These really highly commercially successful band from Brooklyn, made up of some dudes from Ohio, two sets of brothers, and then the singer, Matt Berninger, the very charismatic, very literary. I think he's a literary singer. He has a brother who actually made a film about the National involving himself. It's a completely unique rock mockumentary or documentary. It kind of straddles the space between the two. Mistaken for Strangers. It was released the same year as this album, When Trouble Will Find Me. And this was when the National were kind of at their heyday, right? Their previous album, High Violet made it to like Barack Obama's playlist, I want to say. I remember reading that online somewhere. They really came out of the gate with that previous record, ready to go, and they got a lot of attention and success from it. So with this album, it's kind of the what do you do after you're just super successful? Well, you put out an album of very downcast songs, lots of side players, and this really sturdy, polished, but dark, and with humor though, with optimism and humor. The drummer for the National, I just think he's super talented. He swings, and there's some just every song on it's good, right? They have four albums: Alligator, Boxer, High Violet, and then this one. I think all four of those albums don't have a skippable song on them between the four, among the four. And Graceless, right? The visual for that, the video, where they're just being silly, jumping in swimming pools fully clothed, drinking beer, playing beer baseball, jumping in a bouncy castle. It's the contradictions of the group are part of what make them charming, I think. So that's something I found time for lately. Candy Apple Gray, the classic album by Husker Du, their major label record. My dad got this for me for my 16th or 17th birthday. I can't remember which, along with the replacements Pleased to Meet Me CD. And both of those records had a huge impact on me for sure. But the immediate visceral feeling that I experienced when listening to Crystal for the first time, it was, I felt like I was in the presence of something with Bob Mould's delivery on that song, completely aggressive, completely unstable. And the whole album is full of notable numbers, including some really stellar, beautiful songs from Grant Hart, who's no longer with us. And again, for me, I know a lot of people see this as being kind of negligible within their discography. I think it's super. And it's probably a lot of it to do with just my personal connection to it, given the time and circumstances I found it, right? My teen years, kind of tumultuous times at home. I got a Husker Du tattoo, the logo, right, on my shoulder when I was 19. So I felt really passionate about the Husker for a long time. And yeah, they actually have a pretty significant reissue of well, not a reissue. Okay, so it's an issue of a live recording from, I want to say 1985, and it's coming out this year. They've already started releasing a couple of tracks with commentary by Replacements biographer Bob Mayer. It's a full-on production by the Numero Group, and I'm looking forward to at least speaking to the digital release at some point later on this year. Some late in the year, before the year's over, kind of music reviews. But again, I just at some point when I was in guitar, I decided it was important to listen to Husker Du, and I'm glad that I did. I'm glad I have that owned physically with proprietary digital files vis-a-vis Apple iTunes. And what else we got here? We got Scrappy Happiness by Joel Plaskett, an album he released in 2013, kind of parceling out recording and releasing it one song per week, releasing each song with the CBC Radio 2 and Radio 3 as it was recorded before putting the whole thing up as an album, the Scrappy Happiness album on iTunes. I missed the CBC component in real time to go with it, but I watched one of the clips anyway for one of the songs, and it gives a pretty good flavor of what that would have been like. Joel is just such a independent, he's his own industry at this point, hugely successful. He's gotten, I think, as successful as you can get in Canada relative to being an indie kind of artist. He's toured with the Tragically Hip. He shared a stage with Gord Downey. This is major stuff. And so, as well as sort of speaking to a bit about why I like Scrappy Happiness so much, I also spend some time talking to the contemporary release, Songs from the Gang, which is a tribute to Joel, which was released just before his 50th birthday this past April. There's so many cool people on there, notably for me, Frank Turner. He does an outstanding job on one of his songs, You're Mine, and he does his own version of it, which pays tribute to the original, but it's also very much Frank rendition, very powerfully emoted, even though it's a Joel song. And as well on there, we have people like Matt Anderson from New Brunswick. We have David Miles from Fredericton. You got Sloan. There's City in Color, some very popular Canadian artists, 22 tracks in total. I'm going to be doing a full review of the album towards the end of the year, 10 album reviews in the last 10 days of 2025 of releases that I wanted to spend some time with. I think that's what's kind of taken shape. So, again, really looking forward to digging in properly to the full release for Songs from the Gang, which is available on Bandcamp, proprietary MP3's for the win. And I also spent some time here talking about the latest Sam Russo single, right? He's got the single Muckleshoot Casino, sorry. And that's off his album Hold Me Hard. Hold Me Hard, Hold You Hard. I'm not doing this video for a third time, so I'm not going to go back and fix that. But yeah, Hold You Hard is the name of the album. Muckleshoot Casino is the name of the song. And I didn't know what to expect because at this point, Sam has released, I think, 3 songs ahead of the full album release. I think the full album is actually out now. And again, this is something I'll be looking at in terms of the entire record later on in the year. But I've enjoyed everything I've heard so far. Gator Lodge, it's just over a minute. It's not even that long. And it's kind of this stomp along, fast, melodic punk, which, given that it's on Red Scare Industries, that's exactly what you would hope for. You also have track, what is it? The track's called Going, Leaving, Leaving, sorry. But it's off of the Red Scare Across Canada 7-inch EP, which I've spoken to here. There was an unpackaging video on this very Substack, which is one of my favorite songs of the summer. Even though I mangled the title, it's one of my favorite songs of the summer. And so, Muckleshoot Casino, it's just him and his guitar and his voice in a laundromat. That's the visual. And the song, it's just what? There's really effective use of the space between the notes and the atmosphere around the instruments. That's my non musician way of saying that it's heavy. It's a heavy acoustic music and it's short. It doesn't tax the attention span. It carries what it has to say very briefly, and for that brevity, it really has resonance. And the last thing I speak to here is Bouncing Souls, New Brunswick, New Jersey, long running pop punks. We're talking since 1989, so they've been around as a band, touring, recording entity, as long as Sam I Am. I was 11 years old, right? I was 11 years old in 1989. And the fact that these guys are still going is pretty inspiring. I have not listened to a ton of them. I picked up the split single they did, split 7-inch they released with Hot Water Music at some point around 2023 when I was still buying a lot of vinyl. And then the vinyl went to the record stores from whence they came. Um, I no longer have the collection, but I subscribe to YouTube Music, and I got a notification about this really up-tempo, awesome, fun, just let's go for it, damn the torpedoes kind of vibe off this new single. It's really joyful. It's really buoyant. The visual is live footage and studio footage, and it's some midlife folks raging against the dying of the light, which is about all any of us could really hope for at this point. This video is gone better than I would have anticipated, so I am going to wind it down now. Thanks for checking this out in any way, shape, or form, and I do hope you enjoy the rest of your summer, what few days and weeks of it remain. Bye for now.